Hello, welcome to part 4 of What If Deku Had All for One and Was Betrayed. Last time we left off with the devastating loss on the hero's side at the USJ, and the seeds of distrust in hero society starting to germinate. Now that everyone is caught up, after the students return to school, the UA Sports Festival is announced. With Aizawa explaining how it will act as a symbol to the world that the recent attack has not affected them. On the day of the sports festival, Kyoko is chosen to be the first-year representative, giving a perfectly articulated speech about how UA is unaffected by the recent attacks and will continue to push past their limits. And this display of strength should prove they have nothing to fear. As soon as the obstacle race began, Kyoko took flight using Sky Dance and her many speed quirks. While flying above the obstacle course, she decides to pick up all the 0-point robots with her telekinesis, dropping them into the holes in the second obstacle, then lifting all the landmines, tossing them into the air, exploding them. Due to this, she easily comes in first place. For the cavalry battle, Kyoko chooses Yurika, Mei Hatsune, and Tokoyami. Once again, as soon as the cavalry battle began, Kyoko took flight with her team, using her telekinesis abilities to steal every headband, deciding to give certain teams low-point headbands, such as Shoto, as she was intrigued by him and his refusal to use his fire side. During the break, Shoto calls Kyoko to the side, explaining his past and reason for being conceived, stating that she is an unobtainable level of power like All Might. So it is his duty to beat her with only his ice side to prove his father wrong. While Shoto was explaining his past, Kyoko activated a contact-based mind-reading quirk called Living Memory, which allows the user to see the memories of whoever they make contact with. However, the user also feels all the emotions felt by the owner of said memories. Seeing this, Kyoko/Deku's hatred for heroes is once again reinforced, adding Endeavor as another target to destroy socially then kill. For the first 1v1 match, Kyoko is put up against Shinso, getting brainwashed, however due to having the quirk quad-core parallel processing, she easily continued to attack while one of her brains were being brainwashed, knocking Shinso out of bounds. For her next match, she is put up against Shoto, using her air pressure and super strength quirks to blow away the incoming glaciers like they were nothing. Noticing Shoto was starting to feel cold, having started to be covered with his own ice, she asks Shoto why he doesn't just activate his fire side to warm up. Hearing this, Shoto is enraged, yelling that she knows why he doesn't, firing another glacier towards her. Kyoko then states that it doesn't matter if he inherited his fire side from his father, it's his quirk, not Endeavor's, so he can do what he wants with it. Hearing this, the ring is lit ablaze, melting all the ice. Shoto then thanks Kyoko for helping him, however stating the match is over, creating a massive glacier then superheating the air, creating a massive explosion, engulfing Kyoko. Despite this, Kyoko was completely fine, then using her telekinesis to push Shoto out of bounds. Due to Kyoko not letting Deku go past the second round, her final opponent is Tokoyami and Dark Shadow. After dodging Dark Shadow for a few minutes, Kyoko gets bored and catches Dark Shadow's punch, using this opportunity to launch Tokoyami out the ring, becoming the winner of the UA Sports Festival. Meanwhile, Deku is in a dimly lit alleyway, with Stain standing over the paralyzed body of Ingenium. To understand why the two are together, we have to go back a few hours, to when Deku had recruited Stain to join his League of Villains, Reformation Squad, with Stain begrudgingly agreeing after realizing their similar goals. Back at UA after the sports festival, everyone has to choose their hero names, with Kyoko choosing the name Esper Queen. After that, they have to choose their internships, with Kyoko getting an invitation to intern under Gran Torino, after hearing her relation to his old friend Nana Shimura. During the internship, they take a trip into Hoju, to gain some hands-on experience, but while on the train, a Nomu attacks the train, but is stopped by Gran Torino. Deciding to get off the train and search for Stain, Kyoko eventually finds him standing over Ida, preparing to kill him. Noticing her, Ida tells her to run, however instead of leaving, she instead stands beside Stain, taunting Ida, saying "Smile, because of you, the name Ingenium will forever remain as a hero who let their emotions and revenge get in the way of saving people." Finishing it saying false heroes like you must be purged, allowing Stain to kill him, with Ida's last memory being Kyoko's betrayal, horrifying him. She then snaps the neck of the hero native as to remove all witnesses, and without sending her location, Shoto doesn't arrive. Elsewhere in Hoju, Deku stands on the bloody body of Endeavor, who is starting to fall unconscious. Making sure he doesn't, Deku punches him in the side, waking him up, telling him that he is one of his targets, and will pay for his treatment of his own family. While warping away, he kicks in Devourer to Shoto, ordering him to make sure he doesn't die yet. Due to the death of a UA student on their internship at the hands of the hero killer as well as defeat of the number 2 hero, the public lose even more faith in the heroes and their ability to protect them from danger. Back at the pub, Deku and Shigaraki are introduced to a few villains hoping to join the league. Noticing Deku, Dabi and Toga walk towards Deku, complimenting him, stating how they can feel the power and darkness emanating from him. Toga also confesses her desire to stab him and suck his blood out. Having been completely ignored, Shigaraki decays the cup in his hand, and charges towards Deku to do the same to him, to remind him who's the boss around here. However, he is stopped by Kurogiri, instead deciding to go for a walk to calm down. While Shigaraki leaves, Deku apologizes for Shigaraki's previous behavior, accepting them into the league, shaking their hands, using living memory to understand their goals, and judge how loyal he can expect them to be. He then tells them they will receive a call later, however for now he must leave as he has other business to attend to, referring to Shigaraki. After locating Shigaraki, Deku teleports next to him, deciding to talk with him while they walk. He then explains how they have the same goals so shouldn't fight against each other, also explaining how their mutual cooperation will fill each other's holes and create a more unified and deadly unit. Wanting to understand Shigaraki more, he places his hand on his shoulder, using living memory, to relive Shigaraki's life. He then smiles while tears start to swell in his eyes, stating that they are one in the same, both wanted to become heroes, but this society ripped that from us. Am I wrong, Tenko Shimura? Hearing that name, Shigaraki lunges at Deku, but instead of dodging it, Deku simply embraced Shigaraki in a hug, saying he knows his pain, cousin. Explaining their family relation to each other. Now united, Deku and Shigaraki return to the bar, arguing about who got more points in a killing game, with Deku stating that they said heroes were worth 2 points, meaning despite killing 0 civilians, he won due to killing 30 heroes while he only killed 12 heroes and 24 civilians. This sight shocked Kurogiri and Jiren the broker, as not too long ago, they were trying to kill each other. Shigaraki then hands Deku a sheet of paper, with his plan written on it, telling him to change what he wants as long as the goal is the same. Taking the paper, reading it, Deku states there are a few holes in the plan that can be solved, but he will deal with that and give him a result far better than expected in return for his trust. Pocketing the paper. Back at UA, Aizawa explains that they will be having a test and those who fail the test will not be allowed to partake in the summer camp and will instead have to train all summer. Learning this, half the class is scared out of their minds knowing they will fail. Remembering Kyoko is the smartest in the class, they beg her to tutor them all, with her agreeing as to learn more about them all and to strengthen the trust they have in her as to not suspect her double life. After school, at around 5, all of the class except Bakugo arrive, because he wasn't invited. They are shocked by how luxurious her apartment is, asking her how her parents can afford to rent such a place. But they are corrected as she explains that 1, the room is not rented, she owns the whole building and most the ones around it, and 2, her parents are dead and left her with nothing. However, she managed to start up a quirk analysis and hero support gear company, saying the name of it, with the whole class recognizing it. Now that the shock has died down, she hands out a mock test to all the people present, explaining that she has a vague idea of what needs to be taught today, from their results in class. However, she would like to know exactly what needs to be taught the most for everyone. After the test, she quickly realized that some of the class like Denki Kaminari and Mina Ashido needed the whole curriculum to be retaught to them, and others like Momo and Shoto only needing certain parts to be brushed up on and the rest somewhere in between. By the time the session had ended, all of the class were certain they could at least pass the written portion of the test. Due to how late it was, by then, Deku prepared them dinner, handing out gourmet homemade food you would expect to find at a 5-star restaurant. Shocked by how good the food tasted, they ask how she can cook like that, with her explaining how she has multiple best-selling cookbooks, multiple 5-star restaurant chains across the globe, and also has a few hunger relief charities. While internally thinking that if I want to fix this society, I need to be able to support it from the bottom, that includes the world hunger crisis. Hearing this, Denki comments that she would make the perfect wife, as she knows how to cook, is super intelligent and strong, has international influence, and to top it off, is extremely rich so could support her family. She then states that she wishes it was that simple, however this society has no room for more people, so she doesn't plan to start a family, well at least not in the current political world. This comment confuses most of the class, however they just brush it off as a view of the world that only experienced rich people can see. Before everyone leaves, Yurika asks Kyoko if she knows of the company Ostek, explaining how they have hired her parents' construction company as contract subsidiary workers, which has really lifted their economic struggles they were having prior to it. Kyoko smiles, knowing her company has helped out, explaining how she does, as she is the one who created the company, explaining how she owns multiple companies such as schools, hospitals, orphanages, farms, shops, leisure activities, and construction companies, which hire millions of workers, to relieve the economic and social strain she fears will be hitting soon. Referring to her alter ego's plan to destroy the existing hero society. Thankful for Kyoko's support, Yurika asks if there is any way for her to repay her, but she simply smiles, stating how the knowledge that her companies are helping people is enough for her. However, I doubt you will accept that as reward enough, so maybe you could invite me to dinner with you and your parents sometime, that should be enough. After a few weeks to train, the day of the exam finally arrives, with everyone passing the written exam with flying colors, leaving only the physical practical exam left. For the practical exam, it is announced that they will be fighting the teachers, in pairs, with Kyoko being paired with Bakugo and against All Might. As soon as the exam began, Kyoko decided to let Bakugo fight All Might first, knowing he would lose. After Bakugo's humiliating defeat, Kyoko started to fight All Might, using a combination of Skywalk to remain out of All Might's reach, Air Wall and Reflect to defend herself, and Air Cannon. Telekinesis, compression and precision to launch debris and high-density titanium orbs towards All Might, at high velocity, knocking him back, inflicting damage. After doing this for a while, Kyoko decides to fight All Might in close combat, using all her super speed, strength and reinforcement quirks, to overwhelm All Might, forcing the number one onto the defensive, constantly targeting his scarred weak point on his stomach. Because of this, Kyoko eventually wins, with only a few broken ribs, fractured arm, bloody nose and an array of bruises, shocking the class. However, Kyoko is more annoyed that because of her success, Bakugo also got to pass. Okay guys, this is where I will be ending the fourth part of What If Deku Had All for One and Was Betrayed. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing to be recommended more content like this one. With that out of the way, this is Demonic Saiyan saying bye.